All right, these are the 4 rules of calculus. These are 3 of the 4 rules. You have general power rule, product rule, and chain rule. And this one is on page 13. All right, the first rule, GPR, that's called the general power rule. And I'm going to start off with an example instead of a note. So if I have y equals 5x to the 7th power, and I want to take the derivative of that, I'm going to use something called the general power rule. So that's going to be the derivative y prime equals 7 times 5, 35x, and then I subtract 1 from the 7 to the 6th power. Here comes the actual calculus book note. So if you have some function y equals a, some number, times the variable x to some power of n, the derivative, using the power rule, is going to equal n times a, x to the n minus 1. And that's the note. Second rule would be product rule. That's where we multiply 2 things together. So if I have some function such as y equals an item u times another item v, we're going to use this thing called the product rule, and it's just a little pattern. Y prime, the derivative, is going to equal u times the derivative of v plus v times the derivative of u. So let's use an example. If I have y equals e to the x times x to the 5th, I'm going to use the product rule. Now I set up a little template. So I set up a little value that u equals something, v equals something, then I'll find the derivative of whatever u is, then I'll find the derivative of whatever v is. Some people just go right to the rule and can do it in their heads. Other people like the little template. So in this case, when I crack this down the middle like an egg, I have u equals e to the x, and I have v equals x to the 5th. Now I come over here, I take the derivative of u. The derivative of e to the x is a strange derivative. It's the same. It is also e to the x. Then the derivative of x to the 5th is 5x to the 4th. And now I'm going to implement the power rule. It's going to be u dv, so e to the x times 5x to the 4th, plus v du. That's going to be x to the 5th times e to the x. Since it's commutative property, you could rearrange the multiplication polynomials and exponential function any order. Sometimes they factor stuff out. It depends on what the format of the question is. The third rule is going to be called the chain rule. This one is not difficult to do, but the note is kind of archaic. So if I have y equals some function of another function, f of g of x, that's where a function is. Y prime is going to equal the derivative of the outside, f prime of g of x, times the derivative of the guts, so times the derivative of g of x. That would be g prime of x. So in words, we're going to say the derivative of the outside times, or multiply, that's the product rule, the derivative of the guts. So let's use an example. If I have y equals 7 times some function, 2x cubed plus 3x, to the 5th power, and I want to take the derivative of that. I'm going to take the derivative of the outside, so y prime is going to equal 5 times 7. It's sort of like I'm using the power rule. 5 times 7, which is 35. I just copy down the guts, 2x cubed plus 3x. I subtract 1 from the exponent. That's to the 4th power. Now I have to multiply that by the derivative of the guts. So I need to ask myself, what's the derivative of 2x cubed plus 3x? And I'm going to multiply that times the original. So that's going to give me 6x squared plus 3. Now some teachers will ask you to distribute the 35 across that. Depends again what the format of the question is, what the format of the problem is.